Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and I'm sitting here as I always should be with Mr. Kyle Ferguson. Welcome, Kyle.
Oh, it's good to be here. How was your week in Heroes?
It wasn't bad. It was all right.
Nice.
Won some, lost some. Didn't get to play any games with you, which is always a bad thing. But it happens. We're busy men.
That's true. I'm sensing that might be remedied Monday, perhaps.
I would certainly hope so, because I'm blacklisting Overwatch for the next one after this week's shameful display.
Well, I hope my skills in Overwatch can make everyone feel better about the charity stream.
That's all right. Fair enough. I get that, but I think you're being too hard on yourself. We're all sucking it up pretty hard on Monday. By the way, everyone, if you're not aware, Kyle and I do a co-op game stream every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/JMOTV. It is called Games Bond. And, you can see all of the VODs over on youtube.com/JMOTV right now. Apparently, there was an audio sync issue with the VOD for the most recent one. So that sucks. Maybe watch it on Twitch instead. And we'll try and make it so that doesn't happen again.
That's why podcasts are so magical.
Yeah, exactly.
Never an issue.
I don't have to fix that in post because syncing actually does not matter in the least.
Exactly.
You do have to worry about multiple tracks being slapped on top of each other, though, that you weren't wanting to overlap.
Sure. Or, certain words of a cursed nature slipping through at times. Those can happen.
Hey, I put ample warning on that last patron hangout. So
Definitely. And who are we to stop our patrons from being themselves, you know?
It's fine. Just because we stop ourselves from being ourselves doesn't mean we need to stop other people from being themselves.
Exactly. Well said.
Because it's funny because you and I we cuss all the time in regular conversation, but we tried our best to keep it out of the show just because we try and aim the show towards a general gaming market, meaning hopefully, people with kids hopefully won't shy away in most cases from listening to the show. But anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed yesterday's patron hangout. I know I did. Had a really good time. Thanks again to everyone supporting the podcast over at patreon.com/ITN. But Kyle, there's quite a bit to talk about this week, so enough with the pleasantries. Because honestly, I'm not that pleasant of a person to begin with. Let's get right in to Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Can Stitches play now? Point me to the stage.
I don't want to point you to the stage. I'm sick of your crap, ETC.
It's good crap, though. I need to learn to play ETC better.
Don't we?
I have been getting stuck on tank all week.
Oh.
Everyone wants Diablo, and I'm happy to bring him. My win rate currently 100% for the last 2 weeks in Hero League. But
Holy shit.
Oh my goodness, the babysitting is getting a little tiring.
There's nothing worse than being forced into a role that you do not feel like playing, especially multiple games in a row. But hey, man, if you're sick of your current hero lineup, it's a good time to be playing Heroes because we're getting a new one this Tuesday. Zul the Necromancer is coming to the Nexus.
A lot of hype riding on this guy.
Little bit of hype. He might be just a tidbit popular with the Diablo 2 crowd. But I'm happy to see him coming. I'll be dropping down my $10 immediately.
I have my gold prepared.
Oh, do you have your... I have the gold, but again, I just like to keep the gold around for when I want a new master skin, so...
Fair enough.
I'll drop that $10. It's fine. I'm an adult.
He does have a good-looking master skin, too.
He does, though I think he wears a shirt with his master skin. I'm kind of digging his shirtless vest getup in the regular one. Lately, it's I don't know. I have an issue with a lot of master skins. Like Johanna's, overall, pretty great, but covers up her dope-ass mohawk, so I have an issue with it. Leoric's, actually, just sucks. I hate Leoric's.
Yeah.
There's not one particular thing I dislike about Leoric's. I dislike the entire thing.
Oh, the skull hat's so cool. I even wish on my Space Leoric skin that the hood would pop up a little bit to show his grinning
skull.
face.
Oh, it could look like the Proteans, I think, from Halo 4 and 5.
Oh, I can't help you out there. All I'm picturing is space balls.
Okay, gotcha.
And Darth
Fair
helmets.
Fair enough.
Fold up head.
I love Muffin Pickle in the chat room that says, Garrett, the hero's 1%, dropping 10s like it's no thang. Thank you,
Big
Muffin
money.
Pickle. Yeah, big money, $10. Ooh, girl, you earned it. That's bad. It's terrible. Excuse me. So we got we got Zul's kit, all of his abilities, his talents, all revealed. You can throw a stone at whatever hero's fan site you may fancy, and chances are the information is there if you haven't looked it up already. But we're going to talk about his abilities. We're not going to go talent by talent because it's going to take a while, but we'll pick out a few cherry-picked ones, courtesy of Mr. Kyle Ferguson right here. But let's get into it. Let's talk about his trait to start with. It is called Raised Skeleton, and when a nearby enemy minion dies, it becomes a skeletal warrior for 15 seconds, and up to 4 skeletal warriors can be active at once. So this sounds to me like a passive trait, sir. When they were talking about this, when they revealed it, I assumed this would be an active trait. Like you would have to... Although now that I'm thinking about it, that makes no sense because the bodies don't stick around for you to click on.
Sure. It's because the trait little button off to the side is going to be in use by talents, and bone armor is taking the place of the 1 button. So there's still going to be a little bit of activeness there. My favorite one that ties to the trait button is Corpse Explosion.
Right, but traits... Oh, gotcha. But traits usually are in D, not on 1. So it's not like bone armor is in the slot with the same hotkey or anything like that.
Oh, no, I'm just making sure that, people are aware that there is going to be an augment to the D, even though it doesn't start with it. You can add a button on top of it later on. Fair
enough. So it starts as a passive, and depending on the way you build Mr. Zul here, you may actually be having to actively hit your D key.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Let's talk about his basic abilities. Bone armor, which you already mentioned. Zul is special in this regard. He actually has an extra button that he starts with, which will be on your number 1 hotkey. You can customize that to be whatever the heck you want it to be. But bone armor, basically, you activate it to gain a shield equal to 25% of your maximum health for a whopping 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's good. I can dig that. It's
giving for sure, and it's a melee specialist, so he's going to need a little bit of something to close the distance, I'm guessing, with a limited health pool. No sort of regen that I've seen so throughout the talents, but at level 1, you are forced to pick a bone armor talent. We're going with the old Nova and Lunara philosophy for this one. Yeah. In fact, here we're going with, I guess, more of a monk thing. From level 1, you're making a decision.
Yeah, which is, I think, rather cool to see. I really liked that about the monk. I thought it was something that was pretty unique, and now it's less unique, but I'm still glad it's coming to another hero.
The most frightening one of these is Backlash, that you can pick at level 1 for your bone armor trait, and that's going to be nearby enemies take 15% of their maximum health as damage when bone armor expires or is destroyed.
That
So if I'm seeing like triple warrior meta on the other team, man, you just walk into the middle of it, get destroyed, and you're going to destroy some health on them.
Yeah, I can dig it. His Q ability is Spectral Scythe. He summons a scythe at target location that travels toward you after a 1-second delay, damaging enemies in its path. So, meaning it comes towards you as Zul, the player. So instead of shooting it out from you, you summon it in the distance and it comes back towards you. So you want to draw a line between you and whatever your target is.
Right. Lane clear.
Yeah.
Damage.
Killing people. Sounds really, a lot of things you say in regards to a video game sounds terrible out of context.
Well, of course. And the primary goal of most video games is to kill. It's one of our human weaknesses for fun, I guess. Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I think it's why we have so many zombie games, because nobody cares about zombies. Or Nazis.
Yeah, you're right.
Nazis. You got yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all agree that they're equal levels of evil. There's no gradation on the opinion of Nazis, Kyle. Unless you're a neo-Nazi, and if you're listening, well, you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
Making really, really bold claims there, Kyle. Really,
we're really taking a strong stance against Nazism. Why don't we throw meth in there? Sure, why not? Let's just be really agreeable today.
Hey, man, without meth, I wouldn't have one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Or the majority of topics that come out of the news in Florida.
Oh, low blow, sir, low blow.
Hey, Washington's got its problems too.
I would argue they're arguably problems.
They're not as well publicized, and it rains a lot, so they stay inside. Whereas in Florida, it rains, but it's just like randomly for 2 minutes, so they end up outside. So they run inside of Mickey D's and end up like grabbing the ice cream with their hands, and then climb inside the ball pit and passing out. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I totally do, because I Do drugs and fall asleep in ball pits, apparently, because I'm in Florida. Let's talk about Cursed Strikes on W before we go any further down that horrendous rabbit hole. Once you activate Cursed Strikes on your W key, your basic attacks over the next 4 seconds deal damage in a wide arc and reduce the attack speed of enemies hit by 50% for 2 seconds. Now, I can see that you're interested in Cursed Strikes because you picked out 2 separate talents that augment Cursed Strikes. The first being an option at level 7 called Weaken, which increases Cursed Strike's attack speed slow to 75%. That is a massive attack speed slow.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting, right? Like, we're seeing a very clear counter for his builds. I am going to go up against auto attackers. I need to get in melee range with them so that I have this bone shield to close the distance. Or I'm going up against dudes with really high health, and I'm going to become this sort of giant killer. And that's his other one at level 13, Giant's Curse. Curse Strikes deal an additional 2% of the enemy hero's maximum health as damage. And if this is activated for 4 seconds, he's got a 1 second attack speed. We can assume at this point, because most heroes do. That's going to be a pretty huge chunk of enemy health that you can bite off. And not to mention that your next basic attacks over 4 seconds cause this on the enemy heroes for 2 seconds. So there's a good chance that they'll have this on them for, if you engage correctly, a full 6 seconds of decreased attack speed, 50% unaugmented on someone like Thrall. I think he's about to have an issue.
I think so too. I mean, it all comes down to how Zool actually ends up being, because we're not seeing Zool and Thrall's not going to be affected. But just by looking at his kit and theory crafting in the what little we can, he's looking like he's gonna be pretty strong. And with his version of Giant Killer, and you also talked about what was it, Backlash earlier, the Bone Armor talent that also deals damage based on a percentage of max health. He looks like he's going to be some bizarre tank killer specialist.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting now. Will that just leave a big hole where all the mages with the burst damage are just going to fill in, and we're going to end up in some sort of weird, more focused on spell damage because Zool is in the game sort of world? I mean, what if Raynor ends up with a really crazy penetrating round build because he's fighting Zool? That's kind of cool.
Ooh, I would like that. Yeah, but again, this is all hopes and dreams. We don't know how this is actually going to shake out.
I mean, think about when we were looking down the pipeline at Artanis and that blade dash ability, and we're like, oh, won't that be sweet? And then we get and we're like, this is nothing like what we even assumed it would even move like. And we had to make all sorts of random change. All of a sudden, all those theory craft specs just went out the window, and we ended up with something entirely different.
Yeah. Let's talk about Bone Prison on E. After a 2-second delay, root the target enemy in place for 2 seconds. Now, we already talked about this when Zool was originally announced, but really, man, it bears repeating because I don't think this ability is any less cool than I did when they announced it. You put this on a target, and they have 2 seconds to decide where they want to be trapped, where they want to be standing when this thing goes off. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Right. Important to note that this is a root. So they will still turn around and shoot you in the face if they're playing correctly. So don't panic next week when you get stuck in the Bone Prison. Just stand there, turn around, and attack Zool in his little melee face.
Yeah, just look at the cover of your Hitchhiker's Guide, everyone.
What, the green thing smiling at me with a...
Don't panic.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like, what's that got to do with that guy? I mean, he's great and all. He looks like he's having a good time in space, but...
He said, just don't panic, Kyle. He said, just don't... Keep up. Come on, man. Let's talk about his heroic abilities. Poison Nova and Skeletal Mages. First up, Poison Nova. This is how it functions. After a short delay, it releases poisonous missiles that deal massive poison damage over 10 seconds to all enemies hit.
Interesting to note, too, that the level 20 augment to this ability, Call of the Grave, causes the Poison Nova to do damage equal to 1% of the enemy's maximum health per second, in addition to the normal damage it's going to do.
Again, more punishment of high health heroes.
But it's 1 a second, so we don't really even know. 10 seconds, so 10% of maximum health, that's pretty good. But all we have is massive damage. And even if it gave us numbers, we can't click individual heroes in this game. So outside of perfect 500s and 1000s, I don't really know what that looks like inside the game.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe it's massive. Maybe it's more like, all those other sort of Envenoms that have gone out. It's just, if they get a heal, it's over. Bummer.
Yeah. And then Skeletal Mages, you summon 4 Skeletal Mages in a line that attack nearby enemies and slow them by 30% for 2 seconds, and this lasts up to 15 seconds. So, summon your wall of mages, everybody.
Sounds cool. Don't know what it'll do. The slow is enticing because we do get Executioner, as well as everything else we'll need with Bone Prison. I think it'll work very well for his kit. But it could be a weird line. It could be too small. And it does have a really cool augment to it. Raise Mage. When an enemy hero dies, a Frost Mage will rise from their corpse to fight from you, allowing you to increase your Frost Mage slow amount to 50%. So a bigger slow and kind of a snowball effect, kind of this Li Ming thing we've been talking about, or even the Greymane effect. You get a kill, there's going to be an effect on the field that increases your chances to win the entire fight.
Do we know if the Frost Mage that is summoned from the body is stuck in place like the 4 that you summon using the ultimate, or do they move around?
No idea.
No idea. Okay, I was just curious.
My guess, because it's a wall, and they kind of say it in the language there, or a line, it seems like they're not going to go anywhere, but they could march forward. Who knows?
Gotcha. You also wanted to talk about Mortal Wound and Bone Spear, which are other level 20 options. So Mortal Wound will augment your Q ability, so enemies that are hit by your Spectral Scythe will receive 75% reduced healing for 4 seconds.
4 seconds a long time. That is really giving.
I love that.
Yeah.
Man, that's nuts. They should have just called it Mortal Strike. Missed opportunity. I know it's not World of Warcraft, but
I don't know if there's anything that would be better for the Necromancer. I built him wrong, so don't go on my lore here. I saw teeth, and I thought it was awesome. I put about 5 points into it, realized how wrong I was by Act 2, and then dumped everything and the golems and mud golems and whatnot and did okay from there.
And then Bone Spear, which is another active ability you will get, which deals damage to enemies in a line. So sounds like you can really load Mr. Zool up with some buttons.
Yeah, just like all of our other heroes coming down the pipeline the last several months, it's very much based on which ability do you want to augment most. Are you going to do the Scythe that pulls back and causes a couple of effects to people? Are you going to do a big old sort of melee curse strike build and curse people and debuff them? Or are you going full push build and everything goes into skeletons, increasing the numbers of them, their push power perhaps, and then corpse explosion with it? Yeah.
On the subject of the scythes too, we got words from Jade Martin, who's a game designer for Heroes, who said that they knew they wanted Zool to have the scythe, and that the art team was really excited about that. And then once they knew they were heading in that direction, that their next goal was to work the scythe into his kit, which led to that idea of having a reverse skill shot, which I can dig.
Which is neat. I like the sweep idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Jade Martin also spoke up about skeletons. He said whenever a nearby enemy minion dies, it will be raised as a skeleton that pushes the nearest lane to Zool. If, for whatever reason, a skeleton is raised outside of a lane, it will prioritize attacking nearby enemies before going to the lane. We didn't want Zool running around the battlefield with hundreds of skeletons. Oh, why not?
Yeah, I guess it'd be a little much for them to group up on him. And currently we do not have Haunted Mines in the rotation, which was the only map that made those summoned units focus on you and continue to follow you. I remember back in the fond days of Anubarak and even Asmodan down in the mines, and you could just summon everything, and it followed you around, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm told there was Greyfire in the chat room. They need to bring back the emote radial dial, Kyle, if for no other reason, so we can get a line for Zool saying, "Bone Spear ready."
I think we're going to get it again. There's so many lines they have recorded hidden in the files. And it seems if you had something coming down the pipeline that you would pre-record all those things for a feature to come out. Yeah. I hope so anyway.
Yeah. There will be an interaction between Zool and the Orc, so voice actor nerds, get ready for it.
Sweet.
Yep. So any closing thoughts on Zool before we move on, Kyle?
That's basically it. I mean, I don't even know how he's going to move, what his sort of body radius is going to look like. So we'll see next week. And I'm excited for him, of course. Specialists are a hotly contested bunch. I don't know how much Heroes League he'll get played for me, which is a little sad. Because you got Zagaras and you got Nazebos, which all have fantastic win rates right now.
Yeah. absolutely. It's a good time to be a Zagara fan, which means it's a good time to be me. Although, actually, damn it, man, I have not gotten to pick Zagara very much, and it's making me sad.
No, well, she's overtaken Li Ming. Li Ming fell a ton this past week.
Yeah.
I think because people had to learn to aim.
Yeah, I think so too. Do you think it's strange that Zul isn't on the PTR? Because with Li Ming, we had a week with her on the PTR before she went live. Not that it really helped, because there were definitely some balance issues with her out the gate.
No, and we never had a hero that was up on the PTR that got changes before it went live.
Right.
And we know that's just to test bugs. They never test balance on the PTR because there is no MMR. So there's no telling what sort of information they even get, and they can't make adjustments off of that. But it does seem odd, right?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just strange after the last one. We also didn't get a balance update this Wednesday for the first time in 3 weeks? 4, maybe? I don't know. Multiple weeks in a row we've had balance updates, and we haven't gotten one this week, but we are getting one this Tuesday in addition to Zul's release. So Nova's getting some more reworks. Snipe is having another damage increase going up from 295 to 310. Scaling is staying the same. And the Snipe Master talent is getting changed. The damage bonus per stack is being increased from 12 to 15%.
Oh, they're really shining that turret, aren't they? They're working hard.
Yeah. Well, she still needs some work. You know who else needs some work, Kyle, in the opposite direction is Rhaegar. So freaking good. Now, I don't want to see him return to near the bottom of the pack.
Not at all.
No pun intended, because he's a wolf. But he is getting some changes in the patch on Tuesday. His Electric Charge talent for Lightning Shield will have its bonus to Lightning Shield, the radius of it, decreased from 33% to 25%. The Stormcaller talent no longer increases Lightning Shield's duration.
Which was the whole reason people really took that talent in the first place.
Right. It seems, again, I don't want to just rush to judgments, but that seems a little like they're killing the talent a bit.
Well, they're clearly trying to kill the build that gives Rhaegar all his damage. The problem is he's still an amazing healer in the background, and he still has amazing mobility with his Ghost Wolf. They want people to make a choice at level 1. Do you go for the increased speed? Are we going a lightning build here because we're eventually going to have someone like Diablo on our team that has tons of health and I can augment it with a big old shield? And that's getting nerfed too. So the shield build that was so interesting is going away, but he's still so powerful in all those other areas. I know Blizzard has been very concerned about giving supports and our warrior tanks too much damage. But it is a little bit of their personality, and I'm surprised that they're bringing him back this strongly in those areas rather than affecting his healing directly, so that people like Brightwing perhaps can have a place again. Not that Brightwing has anything wrong with a real low, win rate at the moment, but still a really cool healer on certain maps, and you can farm a lane and teleport immediately across with the peekaboo talents and all that cool stuff. But you could also just have Rhaegar run from the lane as a wolf and get there in just about the same time.
Yeah, I like that too. But you bring up a good point. Too much damage on characters that are not primarily damage dealers has been something that they have been fighting pretty much for the history of the game. Anubarak is a fantastic example of a hero that was changed, I think, drastically, almost too drastically, because of the damage he was outputting.
Right. I mean, Anubarak's a horror story. You give him 2 damage more than he needs, and his CC just takes over the game.
Right.
Rhaegar here, though, it does seem like it's more that Sonya situation where everything's kind of based around damage for her. That's why we take her as a bruiser. If that was reduced, she'd just drop off the face, bottom of the tier kind of situation.
Yeah.
So very, very careful. I love these baby steps, but kind of sad to see this much attention put on the Lightning Shield build.
Right. Urshield is also getting a change. Its shielded mount is being reduced from 15 to 12% of the target's maximum health. I want to go to bat for this one. Leave the shield alone. I like the shield.
Right, but this is a sane adjustment.
Yeah, that's true. It's not the end of the world. I think it'll still be a perfectly fine talent to take. And Essential Healing, however, is getting a cooldown increase from 80 to 100. I am so okay with this.
It's a powerful spell.
It really is.
And we need the extra 20 seconds because it has no caveat to it. There's no bullet list of, well, don't use it in this situation. Is someone low? Yes, heal them to full. Is someone about to die? Yes, you just save them. You're awesome. Heal them to full.
Yep. And then Bloodlust is having a mana cost reduction. It's going from 125 mana down to 75 mana, so it's going to be extremely cheap.
They love Bloodlust.
I still don't think people are going to take it.
Nah, probably not.
No, I don't think about it. At one day, and today's probably not the day because there's a lot of stuff to discuss, but I wanna get your thoughts on, do you think it's okay for certain heroes to just have a single ultimate?
That's tough. I mean,
or heroic ability.
I'd never use Monstrosity on Abathur. I know there's a ton of people that do, and that's entirely their play style. I've never found the value in it, but I don't practice with it either.
Right. I mean, I think that's a different road to go down because it clearly is seeing play. But in the world of Nidus Worms and Bloodlust, I mean, you are seeing Bloodlust picked in bizarre games. We take it from time to time, but if I have the comp I want, I shouldn't need it. I would rather have the heal.
Right, they needed to give something to Bloodlust here, though, because you're reducing Rhaegar's damage, which is going to make it more problematic to take Bloodlust in the first place, because you are now having to get another healer in there, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So any closing thoughts on these changes? Overall, I think they're pretty good. I'm somewhat concerned about Rhaegar returning to his lackluster glory, but I don't think this is a nail in any coffin.
No, and this is all bad news for anyone who mains this character, and it's tough to remember that because so many people just jump to whatever's overpowered at the moment, and then the second you get a change, like Li Ming here, down almost 7% this week, they all jump ship, and we're left with truly passionate people that might be frustrated with the changes in the game.
Yeah.
And, of course, you got to think that Rhaegar's climb to victory was on the heads of every other support that fell because of it.
Right. It's so strange for me as someone who took to Uther so heavily in the early days, the world that we're currently living in Heroes of the Storm. We'll see.
Yeah.
He will return. He will. He's not dead yet. Arthas has not claimed his soul yet.
No, but Uther is also unfantastic. His kit is extremely dry. And I like that as a holy priest from World of Warcraft because I just want to apply big numbers and do the core things I want to do. But Rhaegar's enticing. He's got lightning shields and runs around as a wolf. And
Rhaegar's incredibly flashy. I like Uther's kit a lot. Wave of Light, lining up the perfect wave of light that hits 2 or 3 of your teammates, and you're just like, yeah, damn, I'm good. Like, it just feels good, man. I love it, and I love that he has a stun. Yes, it's literally the most boring stun in the game, but I love that he has it, and it makes sense for his character. This giant, plated up, huge hammer wielding, Boy Scout. Like, he should just come up and smack you silly. I love it.
Yeah,
so.
Justice and whatnot.
Exactly, justice and
for the light.
Well met, heroes. Anyways, let's move on and talk about the new quick match team compositional rule. Now, we talked about this already in a previous episode, but it wasn't live yet, but now it is. So from now on, it's going to be incredibly unlikely that you will encounter more than one of the following heroes on your team in the same quick match game. Abathur, Cho'Gall, Lieutenant Morales, Murky, Nova, and the Lost Vikings. These are all pretty much characters that have issues with lane presence.
If you think that if you choose to go into a quick match and break this rule with your friend, the rule will be broken on the other side. That goes for 5v5s always. Right. There's no rule saying that if you don't pick a support, you won't go up against another team with a support. But here, if you pick Abathur Murky because you love it, you might face a Cho'Gall Morales comp.
Right, exactly. Parties are immune to these types of rules because it's on you what composition you pick in quick match. Completely on you. So, they also talked about the auto select. Does not yet abide by this new restriction, but they will be making changes to it, and it will be arriving in a future patch where they fix it so that auto select will also take this into account.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure there's been many BattleNet posts about some poor auto selector and his matches. But what are you doing, man? Someone complain about this? Because you're auto-selecting, sir. You get what you get.
Yeah. We're getting more observers and ability ping cooldowns.
Cool.
That's pretty sweet.
The observers is actually really, really important, right? For us at home, solo queuing, playing with our friends, whatever, no big deal. Cool, why not? But for esports, this is huge because right now you're basically watching a feed on your screen, or you have 3 casters, 2 casters crowded on one computer with the one observer going at the time, and you can't share observers. That's still not a feature in the game. If you have a dedicated person filming the game, other people cannot tune into what they are watching. So by getting more and more observers in this game, we can have our camera, the one for us is the audience that's moving smoothly and conducted by a professional, so things look good. And then we can have our actual casters on their own computers so they can see what's going on and report on things that they find interesting.
Yeah. Although, honestly, for LAN type big production studio and arena esports events, I'm sure this isn't a huge issue because they could get live feeds. They could have the casters casting off of the observer, their dedicated observers feed, and it would be fine to be 1-to-1 because you could hook it up that way. I think this is a huge boon to grassroots esports. Anyone's running it over a network, from their home office. This is great. This is such a good thing if you're having to build your own tournament from scratch. So,
right, if you're telecommuting a tournament together and people are in different sides of the globe, yes, we need more observer slots. Also remember, too, if it's a global event, you will have one observer and then multiple people in the game for other languages, and they can't communicate with their observer, their cameraman, to say, oh, hey, can we check out what the damage is on Sylvanas? They're just left to the whims of whatever he chose to show them. So with their own computers, they can look that information up and provide a better cast to their audience.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, when I'm casting, oh man, I would so much just rather watch someone else observing it so I know I'm casting exactly what the audience is seeing.
Oh, exactly. And to film while you're casting is madness. And there's a reason why we have dedicated cameramen.
We've done it. It's insane.
It's hard.
I don't like it. I don't like doing it at all.
Start having a conversation, you forget you haven't moved the camera, and the fight's wandered off the screen,
Yep.
and, well, doesn't go so hot.
No, it doesn't. Also, about the ability cooldown announcements, we're going to be getting that. They said to help players communicate vital info quickly, our next patch will introduce a system that notifies your teammates of availability, cooldowns, mana restrictions, charge counts, and other useful ability and talent info using a simple alt-click system. Yes! Bring it! I love it! Somebody over at Team One's been playing a lot of Overwatch. It's like, hey guys, why don't we have a thing with a radial dial where we can let everyone know what our ultimate cooldown is at?
And important to note here that this is all cooldowns, so including your Qs, WZs, and if you are someone like Monk, it'll even inform your team how many charges you have on a particular spell.
Right.
Which is very, very important on Monk because you might want to dive in and have everyone know that you're going to dive out rather than I'm diving in and everyone goes, whoa, wait, what's Monk doing? You all dive in and everybody dies. Instead of you're just doing that. No, I was just trying to, darn it.
Yeah. You wanted to give a quick shout out to a fantastic feature, I think, over on Polygon right now by author Megan, and I'm not going to attempt Megan's last name because I'm going to fail miserably, but it is called The Mad Scientists of Blizzard, and it's specifically about the sound and video team that work on Heroes of the Storm. And it's wildly entertaining.
It's easy to forget how much work goes into not only a music of a game, but all those little different hits that make up the sound effects of an explosion, or why Leoric's giant, really, really loud mace sounds any differently than Arthas's sword.
Yeah. Kyle, would you like to hear their recording session of foil and styrofoam that they were playing around with?
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, it sounds like it's sliced by a bladed weapon.
Yeah, and that's foil and styrofoam. I know when I was
That sounds like unwrapping your quest log or something.
Yeah, and that's just some dude like rumbling paper together over the microphone.
This is nuts.
Oh my, what's that guy?
That's the end of the foil and styrofoam bit.
Just go nuts. I remember watching the making of Jurassic Park when I was growing up and seeing a guy just walking around a farm holding mics up to animals and like kicking bushes over to make the sounds. And I just thought that was the coolest job on earth. And these guys, over the last several years, have put together my favorite panel at BlizzCon ever. The voice acting stage as well as the sound designer stage panels are fantastic. If you ever can pull yourself away from the new features panels that are happening also at the same time.
Yeah. I also, personal anecdote, I remember when Wings of Liberty first came out and watching the making of DVD, because I get the crazy collector's edition box set, and watching a man with chicken bones in a giant bucket of mayonnaise make Zerg sounds.
Yeah, just stirring it around, right?
Breaking the bones inside weird air pockets underneath a vat of mayonnaise.
And that's how Zerg are born.
Yep, that is the sound of Zergs hatching. Love it. Fantastic. I love this kind of stuff. So go check it out. Polygon.com. Sounds of Heroes. Kyle, there's some esports going on this weekend. The North American Spring Regionals will be this weekend, happening on location in Burbank, California at the ESL Studio, which I'm actually very excited to see how they're going to set this up, because this is actually typically where we have the rounds of the Hearthstone World Championship leading up to the finals at BlizzCon. And they always do a super cool job dressing up the space. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Heroes on a smaller stage.
Hearthstone just has a fantastic theme behind it. The whole tavern idea is so seductive. I hope they do something beyond just a couple of red and blue lights. Give us some sort of Nexus space portal, something. Build a ship, like Spaceship of the Imagination, that thing. Like Carl Sagan or Neil deGrasse, like flying through space. Let's do it. Go nuts.
Yeah, that's not where I was taking it, but sure, why not? The opening matches will be on February 27th, and the final matches will be on February 28th. Both of these events start at 10 a.m. Pacific and will be running until 1 p.m. I'm sure that's what they hope. Esports events can tend to go over schedule.
Yeah.
The other important thing to note, if you are like me and you are, you're a portrait whore, you can get some new portraits by tuning in to these finals. So if you watch any of the regional finals events with a linked twitch.tv and Battle.net account, you will get the 2016 portrait in-game. I personally think it's kind of a lame portrait. However, if you tune in to Twitch for the Spring Global Championship finals that are being held April 1st through the 3rd in Seoul, South Korea, you're going to get, actually, I think, a pretty damn cool Thrall 2016 portrait.
And I'm excited for that one. The April 1st championship there is going to be real cool and awesome to see it in Korea as well. So we'll get to see everybody traveling over there and participating. The ones this weekend should be a lot of fun. In particular, it's going to be really cool to see what our current meta looks like for the pros. Right now, we have tons and tons of games coming through the pipelines, various replays being featured by Caldor, and we have Cherry League that's constantly showing us how people in our skill level are choosing to play the game right now. But it's always nice to have these sort of caps outside of Enter the Storm that make things a little more universal in the community, perhaps. It's been very interesting having our discussion last week about what Dreadnought says to do in maps, and then going back into Heroes League this week and no splash in the water done.
Right. But, I mean, I feel it's hard from personal experience to really see what those type of effects can be. I think big esports events have a much larger impact on the meta than a popular post on a subreddit. So,
for sure,
we'll see what happens after this weekend. Let's get to the best segment of the show. Dustin Browder tweets.
Right. I could be wrong.
I need a Dustin Browder voice modulator, so when I read these things, it sounds like him. I'll just start everything I say with destructible rocks.
That could work.
No. Okay. Let's not fun.
Shave your head.
First up, the team is looking at reducing Li Ming's early game siege damage. Not surprised to hear this. It's still incredibly strong.
No, and they just get right on into lane, and it's just sad for poor Asmodan, really.
Yeah. The team is still working on Sylvanas' possession. That's all he informed us of. I want to know at this point. I want to peek back behind the curtain. Come on, give us a preview.
Right. It's like Dexter in there, man. It's just there's a whole wall with all the red string tied around little pins and all the pictures everywhere. Actually, maybe we'll go full X-Files and like possession. What does it mean? And like I believe across the wall, and all the files just piled all over. And Scully, Dustin Browder comes in and is like, guys, where's possession? He has to like go through 5 things of folders, and they don't know where it is or anymore. But there's aliens,
I'm glad you followed up that Dexter thing with the blood spatter side of things, because I thought you were saying it looked like a kill room. Because when you said it's like Dexter, and I said curtain, I'm just imagining plastic wrap everywhere.
Well, that too. It's been a violent ordeal for them.
You're making me want to go back and watch Dexter up until the last 2 seasons.
How many shows are like that,
None, I feel, as egregiously awful in the way they end as Dexter, sadly. Hell, even True Blood, I think, picked themselves up at the end. Whereas, man, Dexter they just ruined it. They ruined it. He's a lumberjack. Generic talents are being slowly removed from the game, according to Dustin Browder. So this is in line with, I think it was Master DS who called in yesterday for the patron hangout and asked us how we thought about that. I'm pretty sure our opinions haven't changed in a day, so probably no need to rehash that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm happy. I'm glad to see that. Dustin Browder also said that Uther will not be fixed. He said that we are comfortable with some heroes being better at different levels of play. Uther is not getting any major fixes. Oh.
Yeah, bit of a bummer for us at home, but it is an application of the Divine Shield, which will always have a place in some sort of comp. So cool. Hopefully this weekend we'll see some Uther.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I mean, if we were on a team, Kyle, like if we practice on a 5-man team on a regular basis and we were always scrimming and whatnot, I would still feel pretty good saying, no, I'll take Uther this game. Let's go.
Right. We could also ban out Rhaegar.
Right. Exactly. But it's not something I feel comfortable taking in the Hero League. So, and then finally, most of the balance team is in the top 200. Didn't know that. Yeah, Dustin Browder talking about the balanced bullpen, which I love that image that put in my head, by the way. An actual bullpen of balanced dusters.
They got to let them out.
Yeah.
Kicking. Got to get some clowns to distract them so they don't rage too hard.
Exactly.
They don't run over the player. No, it's great to hear. I mean, popular for, I guess our perception of multiplayer games, and particularly the more granular parts of the development, like what Dustin does. I mean, he doesn't code. He goes around as a team leader and makes sure that the workflow is constant across all the different teams and they maintain an image for what they want the hero to be. We don't end up with that Dead Space 2 sort of thing where you're like, oh, wow, what a cool section. And then you walk through a door and like everything is different. And all the tone that was built in the previous area is just lost because a whole nother team built it.
I would know what you were talking about had I played Dead Space.
You never played Dead Space?
A little bit, and I was just really unenthused. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It just, like, I don't know, I felt like I had played a game like that before, mostly Resident Evil 4.
Well, yes, and then Mass Effect and everything else. It was a chain of long, over-the-shoulder games during that time period, much like God of War comes out and everyone's like, wait, what, quick time events? Let's put them in every game.
Oh, F you. That was totally Devil May Cry's thing.
That's true. That was Devil May Cry's thing.
Yeah, that was sorry, God of War, no.
For me, God of War made it actually good, but I know lots of people don't respect that genre like I do.
I'm not a huge fan of God of War, and I prefer Devil May Cry. But that's me. That's me. It's okay. It's all right.
I like muscle men. You like emo dudes, so it's all good.
You're damn right. Actually, this I think, except I have nothing against muscle men. Nothing whatsoever. Jane is the best character on Firefly. No, not really. I prefer Mal, but
fair enough.
All right.
I just think everything's more funny when it's done by a muscle man.
That's true. I have been going through Full Metal Alchemist and what's his name?
Sergeant Armstrong.
Lieutenant, maybe, or maybe it's Lieutenant. I don't know. But Armstrong may be the best damn character on that show.
Oh yeah, the sparkles.
Although I did just meet his sister, who might actually be the best character on that show.
Well, sure, but same family.
Yeah, exactly. But what a great character. Before we take an email or two and end the show, Kyle, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN for supporting Into the Nexus. If you're listening to this, if you like what we're doing and you want to support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Right now, we've got a brand new goal up on there where, hey, did you like that James Bond episode where Kyle and I got on our Smurf accounts and smurfed away? Well, eventually we want to really dig into those accounts, get them leveled up, get enough heroes to go into Hero League so that Kyle and I have we each have our own Hero League accounts that are specifically so that we can play with one another and stream it. Well, if we hit our next goal, we're going to start streaming on our extra accounts together every week. So that's the next goal that we're going for. Head on over to patreon.com/ITN for more information. In this episode, let's thank the following patrons. Thank you to Chase, Ryan L., Dylan M., Jeffrey R., and Jeffrey S. 2 Jeffreys back to back. How nuts is that? It's probably not that nuts. I'm sure it's a pretty...
It's slightly amusing.
A somewhat common name, I would assume. Now, if we got like 2 Garretts in a row...
Sure, spelled correctly.
That would blow my mind. Or Garrett and a Gerard. But
yeah.
My middle name is Gerard, folks.
I've been happy with my name, for the most part. I get made fun of in sitcoms a lot for being like the cool kid's name, which is fine by me.
I guess that's good enough. I like my name too. Although the really creepy murderer in the very first murderer we come into contact with in the Hannibal TV series is named Garrett, and that makes me sad.
And the main custom name for the main character of Dragon Age 2. And it was spelled correctly.
Oh, cool. Didn't know that. Also, the guy from Thief is a Garrett.
Oh.
Yep. And then there's the Garretts in Deadwood, which I've been currently watching. This doesn't matter. Let's take an email or two. Woo!
I get Kyle Katarn.
Darkness, stop calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Our first email today, Kyle, comes to us from Love Letters. So that's their name. They're not sending a love letter. That's the name they signed their email with. And Love Letters said, "Hey guys, I love the show. I listen religiously every week and sometimes twice a week, so I'm really looking forward to hearing this email twice, hopefully, which means I hear Garrett's voice probably more than my own with all the podcasts he is on. Anyway, I wanted to chime in regarding last week's email about Illidan, specifically the description that he is, quote, in a rough place, and that the statistics on hot slogs are not so great. Well then, let's take a look. For clarity, these are all from the last 7 days. All MMR leagues, 49.7% win rate with a 13.2% participation. This is just above Jaina's win rate, though her participation is much higher. For Masters and Platinum, Illidan has a 55.5% win rate with a 17.4% participation. He is the 5th highest win rate hero in this category. Generally, as the MMR increases, so does the win rate. In EU tournaments since the Leeming patch, he has a 71% win rate and has been picked 22 times. They don't seem to have North American data readily available. This was from gosugamers.net. Love Letters continues saying, I think this all indicates he is heavily dependent upon what other heroes are doing well. Since Rhaegar is top tier at the moment and Tassadar is strong as well, this does make him a viable pick. So, do people like that this is Illidan's place, a meta-dependent hero that will do well in a more finely tuned composition? I personally do, but I understand that he isn't nearly as accessible to do well with in your average Hero League game, unless you are playing with people who understand that. Sorry this is so long, guys. I don't apologize. It was very well written. I thought this might kick off an interesting discussion about how heroes are designed and seen differently by different sects of the community. And you are absolutely correct, Love Letters. I was actually looking at Hot Slogs yesterday. We quote Hot Slogs a lot. Well, because it's the best tool at our disposal. We can't see the official statistics from Blizzard, so that's why we choose to go look at Hot Slogs, because you and I like statistics.
Right, and I need that as a player and a person. I don't take things personally. I get caught up in my style of play and what I like, and oftentimes that has everything to do with flavor and not actual performance. One of my biggest problems in raiding in World of Warcraft, and I can get pretty bullheaded about it. But I also subscribe to the scientific method, which means if facts come over, I need to abandon my beliefs and follow the real facts to the point and the understanding that these are the facts we are presented with. We could be entirely wrong. I think about people like rubbing mercury into their skin for a nice glow. I wonder what today we're doing wrong.
So
Probably something really stupid.
So it sounds to me like you like raw stats to to make sure you keep an open mind.
Exactly.
So you don't get too stuck into a routine or too stuck into your own whatever your own view of the meta is, and you actually have something quick that you can look at to check your personal beliefs. So the point I was getting at was typically when I go look in Hotslog stuff, because of the fact that on Into the Nexus we aim to talk to the general populace, the weekend warriors, the everyman, that I tend to look at all leagues, statistics for all leagues across everything. But he is absolutely right. Illidan is just underneath a 50% win rate, just underneath Asmodan, if I'm looking at all leagues for the past 7 days. And once I slap that master filter on, and see how Master Leaguers are doing with Illidan. He is in 3rd place right now underneath Rhaegar. And you'll love this guy, Tychus. Although Tychus only has 90 games long.
90 games played. So, you know what? It could be one Tychus out there that did this.
I'm pretty sure that's what, is it you, Kyle? Is this you?
I like to imagine that when Chen gets his loss rate going down, people start going, who? And they start emailing each other. All the Chen start talking around about who's ruining Chen at the time.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about heroes? Do you think every hero needs to be accessible to all ranks, or do you think it's okay that Illidan is a hero that clearly shines at the higher skill levels?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The hard part is balancing out that particular problem with what could happen to the lower leagues. And I always think about Butcher. I mean, Butcher, very bottom of the barrel for Masters League. And we go to Bronze, and he's in a pretty good spot because people don't know how to deal with that. Now, for anyone in the middle and upwards, Platinum, he basically rings the dinner bell and charges you, and everyone knows what's about to go down. You have setup time.
Right.
But he's actually like number 7 in Bronze League.
Yeah.
Illidan, of course, in Bronze, way, way down at the bottom. You have to make some rather crucial decisions along the way. Like, I'm going to engage, and I can never break this engage, and if I do, I will stop healing myself. And I die.
I like that course of events you just painted out there, Kyle.
Well, it's true. It's true. One of the big problems, they don't react to the team comp they're given, and some of those can be, really obvious things. Like, we have an ETC, he's going to mosh pit. Excellent. Let's save the Blizzard so that when he mosh pits, the Blizzard lands on top of it and everyone dies. Great. That's one very simple thing to notice. Another thing you can do is look at Artanis. You have an Artanis on your team. When Artanis walks his way in and engages, he has no escape. So whatever he just decided to do, that's the shot call. That's the entire... Everyone needs to get in there because Artanis is going to die unless he continues to keep attacking, and we need to help him out with that.
That's a very good point. And also, the thing with Artanis, though, and again, this is a personal anecdote, less statistics. I don't think people necessarily see enough of him played to know how to react to it. I don't think your average player hangs around with enough Artanises to know that.
No, and for the most part, they're going to bring their A game, their number 1 hero for the day, and they're just going to do everything they can to be awesome. And everyone else around them isn't reacting to the information given either, so it ends up being a normal game. Because everyone's at fault there in the lower leagues.
Yeah.
Real problems happen in gold where some people know this, and then you've got that knowledge gap where one dude's raging because he read the Dreadnought post, and then you've got everyone else who doesn't know what the heck he's talking about and just knows how the game really works, which is, yes, we defend first on Battlefield Eternity. Are you crazy?
What are you saying? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole a bigger conversation to be had as well, which is the whole thing that you need to keep in your mind. You need to be ready to adapt to the situation that you're in, especially if you are solo queuing, if you are in a pickup game. It's something I have trouble doing, and you're aware of this, Kyle. You need to check your baggage at the door. You need to check what you think you know, however right you may actually be, and try and put it aside and get over yourself, get out of your own way so that you can work with the team you have been given to win the game.
So for Illidan, there's a couple factors at work. One is EU never really left him, and they continue to love Illidan over there. And with Rhaegar, the other factor coming back in, his kit has always worked amazing with Illidan, and it continues to shine. This also means that in the EU and in Masters League, Tassadar's on his way up. Same with Abathur, because those guys are often tied to Illidan as well.
Yeah, and it's something we see this from time to time in every game you can think of, for the most part, region-specific metas and preferences. We talk about this in Hearthstone when we look at the Chinese meta, because it's frequently different from ours. And we've talked about it with Heroes in the past, talking about the Korean meta.
Well, and so many studies have come out of, senior college papers and whatnot that have told us that Americans, we want to fight all the time, and we are very much obsessed with kills and team fights, whereas the rest of the world can be a little more team player.
America.
Go America. 2 tacos, 99 cents.
Thank you for the email, love letters, and thank you for defending Illidan in the best way, with hard facts.
Exactly.
So.
Real funny that we ended up having that conversation about what is Illidan's role, and then basically over the weekend he shoots up.
Yep, absolutely. Let's take an email from Chad, and Chad wanted to write in and get delightfully off topic, which I gotta say, I look forward to getting delightfully off topic from time to time. And Chad wants to know, Kyle, do we have any hobbies or interests that listeners would not expect?
I had to think about this one. I feel like I'm rather nerdy. So I don't know what's really unexpected.
Yeah, so folks, if you're not aware, Kyle is in love with Dungeons and Dragons.
I am.
To a degree that I have not found in any other person in my lifetime. You love crafting a campaign. You love DMing. You get very into it, and I think you're quite good at it.
Well, thank you.
Well, despite that one time where I clearly was not understanding where the water in the lake was draining to. But other than that, still had a good time. Still almost got eaten by a dragon. It's all fine. Yeah. It's all fine. But yeah, you're a raging nerd. Like not like just like in our circles. I feel like everyone's like, oh yeah, nerd, geek, whatever. It's like no, Kyle's a nerd.
That's been something I've had to struggle with too, because I got bullied a ton growing up. And now that like people are gonna wear shirts that say nerd across them, every time I see something like that, I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah.
The hardships.
Yep.
Not only from, bullies and whatnot, but also my poor parents who were like, please just be happy, Kyle. Don't join that Dungeons and Dragons after school group because you want to be popular. You're always telling us you want to be popular, but then you go home and play Dungeons and Dragons. Why would you do this to yourself? You're not allowed. And then I'd sneak out and play Dungeons and Dragons anyway, so they couldn't stop me.
Fair enough.
They also tried to stop me from playing video games, and that seems to have worked out okay for me at the moment.
I'm about to say, it's fine. It just fueled that passion.
Exactly.
It fueled that passion. I don't know. I don't know about hobbies or interests that listeners wouldn't expect from me. I really like racing games, and I never have really an outlet to talk about them. I've put thought into what a racing video game podcast might look like, but I don't have enough time.
Yeah, you're really into cars.
Yeah, I am. But really poser levels of into cars. I'm really into cars, but I don't know how a car works. Like I really like cars, and I'm not like super specific into one over the other. I really like some old American muscle cars. I've always been a big fan of Mustang, but I've also really liked Japanese imports. Like I like both. You like all my car friends growing up like, no, you had to like one or the other. Never the twain shall meet. And I'm like, no, man, I want a Mustang and a 1993 Toyota Supra. Why can't I have both? So yeah, no, I'm really freaking into cars, and so is Katie, which helps. So when I wanted to get rid of the Prius and get an FRS, she was 100% on board. So
I don't know what that means.
Did well. You know what a Prius is.
Right. I know that you were saving money on gas and you chose not to. Is that what I can read out of
I started working from home and driving a lot less. So I was like, well, when I do drive, I kind of want to have a fun car again because I used to have a Mustang. And I loved it. I loved that car to pieces. Yeah, so switched to the FRS, which is it is a sporty car, but it still can get upwards of 30 plus miles to the gallon on the highway. So it's not a like crazy gas guzzler. I found my happy medium, Kyle. I found my happy medium.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm really into music. I'm really freaking huge into music. I love punk, pop punk, and ska. Really never got out of it once I got into it in high school. It's something I really enjoy, something I miss a lot. Used to be in a lot of bands. but I feel like a decent amount of people know that at this point. I don't know. Chad also asked if we were to guess which video game across all platforms do we think we have the most time played on. It's definitely World of Warcraft for me. There's no question there. If I added up all of the Zelda games together, maybe Zelda would combat World of Warcraft, but it's probably still unlikely.
You know, as I get farther away from childhood, all those memories sort of start condensing into blobs, and I do wonder how much time I actually played Banjo-Kazooie 1, but also Super Smash Bros. Like, does that equal the time I put into Heroes? If I do a /played, Dota is probably my most played game in Warcraft 3. And Warcraft 3 all together with the campaign done 5 times or so, and the multiplayer games and the custom games, and, of course, original Dota, I think that would take the cake.
Fair enough.
I was never good, though.
That's a good answer. I had a ton of hours. Games that would probably be runners-up. I had a ton of hours logged in the original Pokemon. I beat Red and Yellow many, many, many times. Like, went through them so many damn times.
Yeah, there was something with rare candies that would make it so your character's stats didn't increase as much as if they leveled normally.
Yes, if you a Pokemon that was leveled through rare candies would not gain as many stats as a Pokemon that was leveled naturally.
Yes, so I had my full roster of fully natural 100s.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I
was very much that kid that no one wanted to play with.
I liked playing through the game from start to finish too much, and you couldn't have multiple saves, so I kept saving over my original run. But the very first time I played through Red, I kept that save for a very long time. I did have a naturally leveled Blastoise.
Oh man, I did all of them, and I always threw down with my friends, and they'd ask me not to play anymore, and that's how most games went when I grew up. Like, people, we're all into Pokemon cards now. Oh, really? That's awesome. I'll go pick up some Pokemon cards. And then I'd roll in, and over 2 weeks, they'd all stop playing because I always won. And then Super Smash Bros. Was the same thing over and over again. Really what it comes down to is they would whip out their decks and be like, I haven't looked at this thing in a week, let's play. Whereas I knew we were going to play today. I was going to meet up with my friends, so I spent the whole night practicing against myself or crafting my deck.
So many things are making sense now. Like when you brought that bullshit magic deck to your own bachelor party.
True. I said to Kristen, though, this is a bullshit magic deck. Should I use it? And she said, yes, this is your bachelor party. Destroy them. I went, okay.
Yeah. Hey, guys who have only been playing for a year and only have stuff from the most recent set, you want to play with my weird 10-year in the making deck?
Now sit back and relax as I have a 5-minute long turn.
Yeah,
it wasn't that atrocious. I wasn't bringing out Urza's stuff on you. It was all pretty modern.
Folks, it got to the point where Kyle was explaining everything he was doing, and I said, whatever, I don't care. I just know I'm getting screwed. Do whatever.
Yep.
Just do it. You don't need to explain it.
I think I just lost.
I'm pretty sure I just lost the game, and there is no coming back from this. But yeah. Nah, it's got to be World of Warcraft for me. Spent a lot of hours in that game.
Yeah, but how much of those were walked away when you made a sandwich while you flew? I wonder what the effective World of Warcraft time would be, and if it could go up against something like Dota for me.
For me, I know the effective WoW time is definitely still the top. Like,
fair enough.
There's just no way.
And you've rated a lot more consistently than I ever have.
Yeah, from the... Well, I didn't really raid that long. I raided from the middle of Burning Crusade until the very end of Lich King. And I haven't gotten back to it since, really. I've dabbled here and there. I'll go jump in on Jocelyn's raid every now and then, but that is about it. For some reason, Tetsuo in the chat room asked what my favorite wrestling game growing up was, and I'm not sure why Tetsuo assumes I even had a favorite wrestling game, but you've triggered me, sir. WrestleMania 2000. I lost months over multiple summers playing that on the Nintendo 64 with my cousin Jake.
Don't look that game up, by the way. Just let it live in your memories.
I may have... No, we've played it in the last 2 years because both of us still have functioning N64s. And every now and then we'll plug it in and get in there and have some fun. No, man, yeah. I talked a little bit about Jake on The Angry Nerd, my solo show, because he officiated our wedding. You were there. You were one of our witnesses.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone, Kyle wins for signing my wedding book. I don't know if I said this publicly yet. You literally just wrote "witnessed!" ! ! ! ! ! ! ! ! ! ! Kyle. That
Damn right.
was the way you signed the book, which Katie and I were going through it one night with some cocktails, and that slayed us. So thank you, sir.
I'm glad.
Yeah, but WrestleMania 2000 for the Nintendo 64. Months of my life over multiple summers just wasted away with that game and my cousin as we beat the snot out of each other, usually with chairs or ladders.
Sure. But did you get some sock and boppers? Or some foam swords?
No, I'm talking about in the game.
Oh, I see.
In the game itself, we were.
I thought you guys got so excited, as kids often do, by the video game, you then wailed on each other. Which is exactly what me and my best friend did after seeing The Matrix.
Oh, okay. No, it was mostly lightsaber fights.
Well, that's healthy.
Yeah. This has been a really fun end of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure there are some listeners right now who are like, God damn it, this there's no Heroes Talk here. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. You know, it happens from time to time. But Chad really wanted to know the answers to these questions, and it has since taken us down memory lane.
Yeah, well, we sit on the precipice of a new hero and all these changes. So, yes, we can read into them. But really, I mean, Zool could limp after every second step, and that changes everything about him.
Yeah. Let's get into the game, and next week, guys, we will have our hands-on impressions with this hero, not multiple ones. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Stick around, patrons, for the after-show games. We're going to throw down with you. Thanks again, by the way, for supporting the show over at patreon.com/ITN. Keep those iTunes reviews coming, everyone. Thank you to Biggest, Nickus, Squinty Eyes, Jacob, 0128, and Skull's Hammer. Thank you so much for your 5-star reviews. We really appreciate them. As always, check out Into the Nexus on amove.tv, youtube.com/amovetv. Big fat thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Get our coffee mugs and other drink receptacles over at bit.ly/amovestore. We'll be back next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/amovetv for the next episode of Into the Nexus. Follow us on Twitter at ITNcast, and big fat thanks to Brian Griffith, music.com, for our intro and outro music. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson. You can find my YouTube, all of the solo Q&A cast, the new Learn to Play show that happens on Tuesday. That's all live streamed at twitch.com/Kyle Ferguson, and is posted at youtube.com/Kyle Ferguson. But I also want to highlight a special video that's been put up on the Geekly YouTube this week. I gave a lesson to Mike Bachman of Drunks and Dragons, and it was a delight. We talked mostly about Li Ming and a little bit about tanking and support. But if you're ever curious about what my lessons look like, because they're all hidden, you know, private lessons and whatnot, that is now public for everyone to see. So check it out. Some cool information throughout there. And it was cool to get to hang with fellow Dungeons & Dragons nerds and teach them a bit of Heroes logic.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, folks can find me on Twitter at Garrett Art. And there's a few new shows up this week. We got a new episode up of Let's Talk About Star Wars with me, Jenny Josephson, and Mr. Tom Merritt. Head on over there. We talked about the new casting news and a lot about Rogue One. And for some reason, you don't think it's a show that's going to spoil the living crap out of everything we know so far about Star Wars. Spoiler alert. It's really spoiler heavy. Also, check out The Angry Nerd. It's weekly now. We'll be getting a new episode up tomorrow, sometime up in the afternoon. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't checked out last week's episode, give it a listen. And other than that, have a good one, folks. Check out doghouse.systems.com. Use the code ITN to get a 120 gigabyte solid-state drive added onto your gaming rig. You can also use the code ITN over at tweakedaudio.com. That's TWEAKED, tweakedaudio.com. And that code will get you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds from them. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. If you're not going to be around for the after-show games, we'll see you next week. Good luck. Have fun.
Take care.